launchers and crossbows, and these really add on top of your other build that you're already creating to kind of just specialize you a little bit more, create interesting group synergies, and also just if you're a solo player, it lets you play the way you want to play.
Yeah.
Keep customizing.
So, I mean, you mentioned that end game first philosophy. Was that really something you took away from the Division 1 of giving players a lot of things to do even after they finish the main campaign?
Oh yeah, I think if you see the type of stuff we continue to add, right, through year 1 and year 2, there were tons of different game modes, there were world expansions, there were Dark Zone expansions, all these things, and it's because the players who play this game are very passionate and they consume content, man, and you just always want to give them more stuff to play. It's awesome.
Absolutely. So yeah, we have the sharpshooter specialization up right now. Let's look in a little bit in depth in some of this gear.
Yeah, so you can also see here that your normal gear that you're equipping, your 6 major slots, have brands associated with them now. And that adds so much to the game because on top of trying to get a really good set of knee pads, you're trying to combine brands together in interesting ways as well. And it's just, I really think the core loot game is going to be super interesting in this one and in a real evolution.
Yeah, that's always what hooked me on the first Division.
Yeah. You can also see some of the new skills in play here, like there's a support drone that you can actually pop out and it follows you around the battlefield, and it makes you just have an evolved sense of the shade tech from the first game. It feels like heightened. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And so as you mentioned, the sharpshooter comes with the sniper rifle. That's his signature, or his or her signature weapon. What other specializations are there?
Yeah, so there's a demolitionist, and they have a rocket launcher. And then there's also a specialization that gives you a crossbow with an exploding tip arrow, which is, the fantasy of it is pretty amazing. But the weapon is just kind of like the centerpiece of the specialization. Just picking your specialization kind of adds to your toolbox. So it really opens up a whole new progression path, even past getting the weapon, which is, that's the front and center thing, but there's a lot of interesting progression inside of the system. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump into the map a little bit and take a look at DC.
Yeah, so you can see here how big the map is compared to New York. So we're about 20% larger than the map we shipped within New York, which was already pretty massive. The E3 demo that people are playing kind of takes place just in this one little section. And as you start pulling back the map from there, you can really see how much variety we're going to get out of this. Even at this very high level, you can see the difference between the really wide open spaces and start seeing all those different environments. So you can see, up in Georgetown, it's a very suburban feel, and versus, down here where most of the monuments are, like the Capitol that you can see in the background of the demo.
Yeah, and as you said, it's completely open around the Capitol. That's something we didn't see a whole lot of in the Division 1.
Absolutely, right? There's a lot of those tall skyscrapers kind of create some corridors for you, and it's really refreshing to be able to see some one-story buildings and some just the different feel that creates.
And so how does that translate to gameplay?
I think the biggest thing is that you feel like you can attack encounters from so many more angles than last time, right? Like, in the demo you start and you're coming in from one angle, but that's an open world activity. So you can imagine you're leaving the Capitol building, you come from the other side, that plays out so differently. Things feel more open because you have more options of how you want to engage the fights.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I think that variability is extremely obvious. When we jump into the demo, we'll see it in a little bit. But when you're making all these different, neighborhoods, like you said, there were sort of 2 different ones in the Division 1.
Yeah.
Now there's many, many more. How do you go about connecting those? How do you make them all feel part of the same world?
Well, the cool thing is, it's all in the city, right? So the city planner kind of did a lot of this for us, and when we bring that in, the fact that we have a nature biome now, right? We have a nature environment that feels totally natural, and that creates such a different type of gameplay. Taking cover on trees,
Yeah.
that's just something that really changes the game at a core level. And it's as you flow between these different environments, you really feel like you're progressing through the city and exploring. I want people, and we all want people who kind of explore this map, to be able to go into DC and kind of have the lay of the land.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, one of the things that DC is, it's one of the most recognizable cities in this country, obviously, mostly because of its monuments, right? How many of those did you get to put into this game?
So, you know, the monuments are a huge deal in DC, right? Like, there's iconic things that we all see so much in pictures and in movies and all these stuff, that if you've even never been to DC, you kind of have an idea of how special, like, you know, the White House is, or the the Capitol building, and all these things. So, you know, a lot of them are in there, and you can see them on the map here. You know, like we have, like a little north here, you know, the White House.
Yeah.
There's things for
Washington
you to explore,
Monument.
find. Washington Monument. You will be able to explore the map and find those things, because, you know, it's the one-to-one recreation, and we want you to really feel like you're in DC.
Yeah, and you know, I think if we jump back out of this
Lincoln Memorial.
yeah, obviously Lincoln, Jefferson, Roosevelt Island.
Absolutely, yeah. Roosevelt Island really like shows off that natural biome we were talking about.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, and then even the Air and Space Museum. We're here. We're looking at another museum, and I love the amount of realism that it feels like you guys put into this, the believability that this is what DC might look like if something like this happened.
Yeah, you know, we wanted to make it feel real. We wanted to make it feel like 7 months had passed. We wanted you to feel the heat of what that city is like in summer when it started to flood and it's a little nasty, right? Yeah. But yeah, in the background here you can see the Gallery of Modern Art, and it's those types of things that, you know, like the Air and Space Museum, right? Like exploring the city and really getting to see these monuments up close and personal, you know, in a way that you would never be able to do in reality.
Yeah. What I think shows really well here, and what, again, the Division 1 did such a good job of, is that environmental storytelling, that you can walk through an area, a neighborhood, and find out what happened, right? We could see here what exhibition was showing at the Gallery of Modern Art.
You know, one really interesting thing is that, you know, the outbreak happened here at Christmas time as well. So we're in the summer, but you still see those remnants of Christmas, like famous Christmas trees that are really up in DC at that time of year are still there, but they're dead and their ornaments are hanging on them, you know? And you get that sense of no one ever cleaned this up, and time passed and nature came out and all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's bad enough faux pas leaving your Christmas tree up at New Year's, let alone well into summer. But yeah, that's a really great point. That the outbreak hits all at the same time. What happens when it's 6 months down the line, and you know, how do you deal with that?
True Sons have this area locked down, but if you can capture their control point, you'll be clearing the way for the settlement to take it over.
So this is, you know, the area we just sort of took a look at. But what's going on in this demo?
Well, the cool thing about this demo is, you know, this is not some scripted mission. It's not a side mission. It's not a main mission. This is just the open world. This is the living world that we're creating. So the players are just exploring the living world right now, and they come upon a control point. And that's one of these things I was talking about, where that the True Sons faction have moved in there to try to lock it down. And if you get in there, you can call civilians to help you and try to take it back. And if you hold that, you're getting resources for, you know, the civilians, and you're helping them out. And these types of things can just occur throughout the living world, right? They're different every time you play, and we really want to increase the replayability of even this aspect of the game.
Yeah, and so we're looking here at a 4-person squad, right? Sort of switching between angles. Walk us through a bit of what these players are doing, what each specialization might be.
Yeah, so I think like the most noticeable thing right off the bat is they're using cover a lot, and that's a core pillar of what we're trying to do. Is, you know, we want to really put an emphasis on the core shooter feel, right? So the lethality is, you really feel it. You want to fight from cover. It feels very tactical, and so you'll see them using a lot of very smart cover and getting kind of flushed out of that cover throughout the demo, right? And having to kind of react on the fly as to what the AI are doing. In terms of their skills, I love the deer. That's one of my favorite.
I love the deer.
Yeah.
I made the mistake of shooting the deer in my demo just to see if I could, and I felt so guilty.
It broke your heart.
It did. It did. People, don't shoot deers. Yeah. Don't do it, even in game.
But anyway, if we look at their actual loadouts, right? We can see here deploying a skill, they've thrown this hive out, and you can see this is one of the new skills that kind of shoots out these little micro drones that seek out targets. Kind of, once again, just like a new toolbox for you to play with. Here we're using another one of the new skills that lets you throw out this kind of explosive mist into the air, and when bullets penetrate inside of it, it lights on fire.
Oh,
so there's
clouds of fire.
Clouds of fire, right? And you can imagine you could lay down this cloud of fire, throw the hive in there. The hive lets out the chain reaction of fire throughout the battlefield. We're trying to create a lot of interesting synergies between what players can actually build.
Yeah. And I think, we started off in sort of a enclosed interior space, and now we see, the Capitol building in the background. It's a much more open space, like you were talking about, than we'd ever seen before.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even that first building we went through, you could have come in through the second story or the bottom and attacked from all these different angles, and it feels like you have options. But then you get into an environment like this, and you could completely 360 flank around this space. There's tons of different tactical positions, and I really think it's going to add to the replayability of the game. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, and you're totally right. Just even seeing here trees and grass and greenery, in the hot DC summer feels like a total change of pace for the Division.
That guy just got some sick loot out of that supply drop that was stuck up in the tree. We're trying to hide a lot of stuff like that around the space, which is cool.
Yeah, so I mean, the environments are worth exploring too.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, you wanna pay attention and look around.
Not only pretty, but they got loot.
That's what this is really about. Just give me more loot.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So here you can see, the control point is up. The True Sons have captured it. When you go in, you could totally try to take this control point back on your own, or you could call in nearby allies. So you shoot off a flare, and that actually calls civilians to come and support you and try to take this back, and then they'll hold it. And they're really out there, and they really have to travel to this space, and it's all part of this living world simulation.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're looking at a 4-player team right now, but of course you can play this all by yourself. So if you need a little support,
absolutely.
shoot that flare up, right? You got
it. And you can kind of get into position, shoot off the flare, see them approaching, wait to attack until they're there, and kind of really plan out your attack in a more strategic way.
Yeah, that's awesome. So here they're fighting the True Sons. What's important about this point? Why is it a control point?
So each of the control points, there's lots of them littered all around the environment, but they're places that would have some sort of resource that these factions and these settlements need. So it might be water supplies or food, or there's varying things that they go after. But yeah, each environment has something that these factions want out of it. And this one on top of it is, an amazing crashed Air Force One, which kind of does add to the spectacle.
Oh yeah, certainly. What I think what's cool that we're seeing here too.
Yeah, you'll see the task force has just arrived from when he kicked it in. Sorry to.
No, absolutely. But we get all these different perspectives, and you see how different you can play. You can be right up there in the middle with a shotgun,
Like this person just pulled out their specialized weapon, which is the grenade launcher. And you actually have to collect special ammo for that. So you'll be collecting special ammo for your weapon as you play, and and then using it at really the right moment, right? So it's these big explosions of power that are super impactful on the battlefield.
Yeah, we just saw the drone there as well.
Yeah, this person just pulled out their 50 cal sniper rifle. It's pretty meaty.
Take a look at the map overall. So why don't we jump into that?
Yeah, cool. So this is the start of the demo that players can play on the show floor. So you can kind of see here, right away, summer, very different kind of environment. You can almost feel the heat. And if I jump into my inventory, you can start seeing some of the changes we made to that nitty-gritty part of the RPG. And the biggest change right off the bat is the specialization weapon, right? When you
hold on, I just want to stop you right there. We're still talking a little bit more about DC, showing off some of the more detailed environments. And as you can see here from the stream, you guys put in so much care and depth into this world. I think it's one thing to build DC; it's a whole other thing to ruin it in a way, right?
Yeah. Well, the whole world is made in layers, right? Like we start with that base DC, that 1-to-1 we were talking about, but then you're layering on top of that the story, right? What happened to these environments in the beginning part of the outbreak? What would have they been used for?
How could this have happened here? Of all the capitals, of all the nations on Earth, none more vigilant, safeguarded, prepared. Was it vanity? Bad luck? Or something more sinister? One thing is beyond question. This is where we push back. This is our defining moment. If we fail, our nation falls. We are the free world's last line of defense.